Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the farmOS Google On Air Hangout. I'm kind of playing with a new format here. Previously, I was recording the entire monthly calls and putting them on YouTube for the On Air Hangouts. So I think from now on, the monthly calls are going to be more of just an informal discussion, and instead I'm going to use these On Air Hangouts to go over the recent changes made in farmOS. So for this call, I'm just going to go over what was done in the beta 10 release, which came out a few days ago. So yeah, and if you're interested in joining the monthly calls, the next one, we're kind of rebooting them for 2016. The next one will be on February 10th, which is next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 6 p.m. UTC. So anyone's invited to join that. I think the topic of this week's call, or this month's call, is going to be crop data. So we're going to be talking about how best to structure information about different crops and varieties so that they can easily be imported and exported from farmOS for the purposes of planning your plantings. So that'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to building, I'm starting work on a planting wizard, so to speak, which ideally will sort of help to automate a lot of the planning process involved in getting your crops ready to go for the year and for following years with succession planting and that kind of thing. So yeah, if you want to join the monthly calls, here I'll share my screen and jump into some stuff here. So now you can go to farmos.org/monthly call, and this will show you the schedule and give you a link to join the call. So yeah, we welcome anyone to join in on the discussion. So yeah, I'll start. I'll just start kind of going over some of the changes that were made in the beta 10 release, and we'll go from there. So let me just get this set up here. Okay. So here are the release notes for the beta 10 release. Overall, the big things that were done in this release were surrounding the user interface, the general theme of farmOS, as well as some documentation, and then a bunch of other little things. So yeah, I'll just kind of go over some of those. So the biggest thing is or the biggest thing visually, I guess, is that we changed the theme of the farmOS instance. So right now we're using the Bootstrap framework. So the Bootstrap framework gives us a nice base to start on, and is a mobile-friendly framework of CSS and JavaScript rules that kind of create a nice foundation to build upon. And so we're using the Drupal Bootstrap theme as a base theme. And then farm theme is based off of that. So let me just show you the project pages here, in case you're interested. So this is the Bootstrap theme. And this serves as the base theme for farm theme. And farm theme is the farmOS, the official theme for the farmOS distribution. So one of the neat things that Bootstrap offers is, well, actually it's a separate thing, but boot swatches are essentially themes that can be applied to Bootstrap. So there's a bunch available, and previously we were using one called Yeti, which is this one down here. And so that kind of looks like this. It's got the dark gray bar on top, green buttons, tabs like that. The forms kind of look, this is what the forms look like. So you can see that, I'll just outline some of the differences. The checkboxes here kind of look like that. And then in the forms, you kind of have these, well, yeah, you get the idea. This is kind of what it looks like. So we changed from using Yeti to using a newer one called Paper. And this is the Paper one. I just think it looks nicer. So this is what it looks like now. It has sort of a nice white top. The checkboxes here are much more, a little bit bigger and much more visible. So it's made to work a lot better on, it seems like it'll work better on mobile devices. And I've been playing around with that myself, and it's been working very well. So the checkboxes are nicer. It's a bit of a cleaner look. In terms of the forms, they kind of look like, this. So it's very similar. It's a little bit more streamlined. When you click on it, it gives you a blue underline. So overall, not a huge change, but just a little bit more pleasing on the eyes, I think. The other big change is that I restructured the main navigation menus of farmOS. So if we look back at the old site, you'll see, so previously I kind of had the asset types up here along with areas, which isn't technically an asset type right now. So that was kind of confusing. So it's areas, plantings, animals, equipment, sensors. And then down here, you had some of the general log. These tabs kind of led you to the general logs, like activities, movements, and observations. And then you had this link to all logs, which would give you that. And then you had like add an area, plus add activity, add a movement, add an observation. So those were sort of for the general logs. And then if you went into plantings, you would see more planting specific stuff. But it was just very confusing because there wasn't really a clear separation between the three major asset types, or the three major entity types in farmOS, which are assets, areas, essentially, and logs. So you can see in plantings, it's got plantings, then it's got crops, which isn't a log, it's more of a taxonomy. Then it's got its own unique logs, harvest input, seedings, transplanting. So all of this was very confusing. It was bugging me for a long time, but it was sort of the one of the first ways that it was set up, and so it just, that's how it was. Now I've simplified it so that when you're looking at the farm dashboard, there are only 3 tabs up top. There's areas, assets, and logs. So areas brings you to a map similar to this, as well as a hierarchy of the areas on your farm. Assets, when you click, will give you a drop down of the various types of assets on your farm. So plantings, animals, equipment, maple, mushrooms, and sensors are the ones that I have on this one. And then logs will give you quick links to all the various types of logs on the site. So I think this just organizes things a lot better. It makes it a lot clearer how farmOS itself is structured in terms of the different types of records that you can keep within it. And then on the dashboard itself, instead of having direct links to, it's just sort of trying to be consistent, be more consistent in the way that it's being presented. So those tabs are actually gone now. It's much simpler. And the buttons are add an area, add an asset, and add a log. So I feel like those are the simplest, most straightforward things to present on the dashboard. I think that makes the most sense. So now when you click on add an asset or on add a log, you get a list of available types that you can add. And this is all default Drupal stuff. We were just kind of not really using it previously because we didn't need to. So now we're just using that. And so the nice thing too is if I go into assets and click plantings to bring up my plantings list, I'm running all of this within a virtual machine on my system because this is a testing site. So it's not as fast as if you're running it on a normal web server. But that being said, so now the plantings page is much simpler. You just have your plantings and your crops. There is still, I am still hearing some confusion from people about what the difference is between plantings and crops. So plantings are essentially a very specific instance of the crops that are in your farm. So they are the they are the seeds that are out in your field right now. Like they are my 2015/2016 Chesnick red garlic is a planting, whereas crops would be the more general idea of the garlic. So a crop you should think of as more of like a species or variety, and a planting is a specific planting of that variety. So in a future release, I may actually change this term crops to be more clear and actually call it something like species or variety. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. And in general, so now it doesn't show you all of the direct links to like harvests and seedings and transplantings and stuff. Rather, that is available up in the top here throughout the entire site. So no matter where you are in farmOS, you can always get to those things fast. If you're in the animals area and you want to see harvests, you can get to that with 2 clicks now. So that's, I think, overall better and should just make things a little bit more clear. Yeah, so that's sort of the new theme and menu structure changes. Oh, one other part to that I'll point out quick is that when you're looking at a specific area or a specific planting, you may have noticed that it shows you the logs that are associated with that asset or with that area. Previously, it would show empty lists here. So for example, if I didn't have any seedings, it would still show the seedings list, but it would say no seedings available. And so this page would be pretty big, but it would just be like full of empty stuff. So it was kind of useless. So I just made a small change to make any lists that are empty, hidden. So now only lists that contain items will be shown on these pages. So I think that'll just keep things a little bit cleaner. So another example of that is if I go to areas and so for example, I know that a lot has gone on in the upper garden. So if I click on that, we'll see that, yep, there's all these animals there. There's been activities. There's a history of assets in that field. But then this south field, which is just an example one, I know that there's nothing going on in here. So you can see there's actually no lists at the bottom of this page. It's very simple. So just a small thing, but I just kind of streamlines it. And we're always looking for ways to, make farmOS simpler, more intuitive, and also, faster to load on your phone and that kind of thing. So if you have more ideas for those kind of little improvements, feel free to submit a feature request or let us know. Okay, so let's see, what else? In general, I've been working towards Drupal 8, which is right now, farmOS is built on Drupal 7. And let's see, about a couple months ago, Drupal 8 was finally released as a stable version. It's a big change from Drupal 7. There's a lot of improvements, but it also requires kind of re-architecting a couple of things. So I'm really looking forward to getting onto Drupal 8 as soon as possible, but it's not a small task. So I've got a roadmap going for that specifically with links to all of the various modules that farmOS depends on. So one of the things we kind of need to wait for is for those modules to be upgraded to Drupal 8 first, and then we can upgrade farmOS because it depends on those modules. So as time goes on, I'll probably start jumping into some of these issues also and helping with that process. But for now, I'm just kind of documenting it all and taking notes of things. So what I did this past for this version beta 10 is I tried to remove as many dependencies and contrib modules as I could. So anything that wasn't completely critical to farmOS in Drupal 7, I tried to get rid of. So that included getting rid of, and you can see down in my comments here, I got rid of the backup and migrate module and the devel module, because those backup and migrate is sort of one way of backing up a site, but it doesn't have to be the only way. So I figured it doesn't make sense for us to include that. And if you want to use it, you can always add it to your farmOS. So that's not, and the same goes for all these modules. So really what I'm doing is just trying to slim down farmOS core so that it is as easy as possible to get onto Drupal 8. And once we're on Drupal 8, then we can talk about adding back some of these modules if we want to, when they're ready, or new modules, that kind of thing. And there'll be separate discussions for those decisions. So yeah, I removed backup and migrate, devel, views, data export, file field paths, a lot of things that are useful but not 100% critical yet, and we're not really using them a whole lot anyways. Also login, toboggan, panels, those are the modules that I removed. So that will just make it a lot smoother getting to Drupal 8. And if you're interested in the details about all those, you can check out this issue. It's node 2361735 on Drupal.org. Feel free to jump in on that discussion too if you have opinions, or if you want to help out with any of this process of porting to Drupal 8. I would love it. I'm really looking forward to getting onto Drupal 8. So yeah, there was a bunch of small things. I won't go over everything. You can check out the release notes on farmOS.org in the news section if you want. But the other big thing that was done in this pass is documentation. So we now have a first pass done at farmOS documentation at long last. It's not 100% complete. It doesn't cover everything in great detail, but I tried to cover. I tried to do a very broad pass at everything and finish every page that I started. So right now, I consider the documentation complete in the sense that there are no more placeholder pages or, this needs to be filled in or something like that. Everything that's there is written. So now we can move forward from there and enhance it from there. So right now it's got, a home page. We've got a user guide that includes pages like mapping your farm, managing assets, logging events, movement and location, and roles. There's also 2 pages for how to install farmOS, as well as how to update it when new versions come out. There's a development section that kind of describes the various projects that are part of farmOS, how to get involved in the issue queues and where to find them. A general overview of the architecture. So this needs more work. Everything kind of needs more detail, but it should give you a good start. And then a little bit about best practice and what kind of standards we're trying to follow in development, and how to avoid divergence if you are developing farmOS on your own and you're adding features to your own. You want to make sure that you're doing it in a way that won't break upgrades so that you can get new versions when they come out. And then there's a page about how you can contribute, how to get involved by using farmOS, by sharing your ideas, bug reports, and discussing development, by working on this documentation, and by actually developing things if you are willing and able. So the great thing about this documentation is it's all stored in GitHub. So it's written in Markdown and built with a program called mkdocs, which is really handy. It just allows us to store our documentation in source control. So there's actually a github.com/farmos/documentation. That's the repository of this documentation. So it's really nice because now you can come in and you can, if you have a GitHub account, you can actually make changes to this documentation right on GitHub, and then create a pull request so that you can request that it gets included in the official documentation. So hopefully this will open up the documentation project itself a little bit more and allow more people to start contributing to that. Yeah, and documentation is extremely important for any open source project. So I hope that it will continue to grow and improve over time. And as always, if you're interested in trying out farmOS, but you don't want to, you don't want to go through the trouble of setting it up yourself, I'm starting a farmOS hosting service called farmier.com. This exists completely separate of the farmOS project. It's mainly just a hosting service. So I'll set up the farmOS site for you, give you a URL and a login, and you can use it. I'll handle the updates, backups, and just keeping it online in general. So anyone who uses this service will be, the hosting fees will essentially go towards my continued work on the project. So if you want to see farmOS keep going and you just want to support it, feel give some thought to signing up for an account. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. And just in terms of development moving forward, the next roadmap is already online for beta 11. So for anyone who's new to this, I'm trying to put out a new beta release every month with just whatever I can get done during that month, alongside my normal day job and other work. So if you have things that you'd like to see added to this list, or thoughts on the things that are already in the list, feel free to chime in or give me a ring. We also, this has been available for a long time, but we have an IRC chat room. If you're interested, you can actually find it in the documentation, docs.farmos.org. Available in, where did I put it? Oh yeah, it's on the contribute tab. So share your ideas. You can join the chat directly in the farmOS IRC channel on Freenode. So feel free to join in, and I'd love to talk and brainstorm ideas. I think there's a lot of cool stuff kind of developing. A lot of I've been talking with a lot of people, and yeah, I'm really interested to see where this goes. So that's all I have for today. Hopefully you get a chance to try out the new beta 10, and I'll be working steady on beta 11. All right, have a great day, everyone. Take it easy.